We ought to be modernizing our unemployment insurance so that it covers more people. We ought to be getting more help to the states so that the states can actually provide the budgets and help that they need to their citizens. We need to do something about this mortgage crisis in a very, very serious way. We ought to have a national home rescue fund that provides transition financing to families that are about to lose their homes, that actually gives them counseling and help to people who are about to lose their homes. We need to change the law so that we can restructure many of these loans to allow people to be able to pay and to not have their homes foreclosed on. There are a whole group of things that we need to be doing. One other thing. We also need a national, not a state, a national predatory payday lending law to crack down on these. And we also need to much more seriously regulate credit card companies that are taking advantage of consumers all across the country. The best I can tell, these credit card companies, they'll issue a credit card to a cat. It doesn't matter. And then they'll up the interest rate without telling you. They'll apply that raised interest rate to past due balances without telling you. You have no rights. We need a consumer protection agency that looks after the credit interests of the American people, that regulates these credit card companies so that they no longer and all that fits in the bigger context of what do we do to strengthen and grow the middle class in this country. What do we do? This is something I talked about in the debate last night. What do we do to ensure that the promise of America is available to every single child? What do we do to make certain that we meet our moral responsibility to ensure that our children have a better life than we had and that we leave America better than we found it? All of us have been through the experience of having both parents or one parent, grandparents, who worked and struggled and sacrificed so that we could have the lives that we've had. And they have now passed this torch to us. And I take this very, very personally. You know, I watched my grandmother, who helped raise me, who I love dearly. I watched her take care of me, go work her shift in the mill. She had to come back home, continue to take care of me. She had 5th, 6th grade education. Came from a family of sharecroppers. She would have done anything for me. Anything. My father and mother did much the same thing. My father worked in mills for 36 years, had a high school education, but he would have done anything to give me a better life. Your parents, your grandparents did exactly the same thing. They worked, they struggled, they sacrificed, and they did it so that you could have a better life. And now they've passed that responsibility to us. That torch is now in our hands. Will we meet our great moral test of ensuring that our children have a better life and that our grandchildren have a better life? Well, if we're going to do it, we have work to do. And we have powerful entrenched interests in Washington that stand as a barrier to the change that we so desperately need. I mean, you know, oil companies, drug companies, insurance companies. I mean, think about this for a minute. The reason we don't have universal health care is because of drug companies and insurance companies. It's that simple, and their lobbyists in Washington. And we desperately need a President of the United States who will take those people on, who will fight them. Somebody who is independent of them, who says no to their lobbyist money, who says no, your lobbyist will never have a job in my White House. Somebody who's independent and will fight for you. Because we have an epic battle against these entrenched interests. It is the responsibility of the President, and I take it seriously, to work with the members of the Congress. It is the responsibility of the President to unite America, not divide America. But it's also the responsibility of the President to stand up against these entrenched interests. And we've had great presidents who've done this. Teddy Roosevelt, I've just been reading a new book on Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt did it. He had fight and strength and courage, and he took on the monopolies and the trusts, and he stood up for the American people, made an enormous difference in the country. Franklin Roosevelt did exactly the same thing. I mean, Franklin Roosevelt was a transformational president, but these entrenched big money interests, they hated him. absolutely hated him. Harry Truman came along right after. One of my favorite presidents, Harry Truman. You know the famous Harry Truman story. They said, "Harry, you're giving them hell." He said, "No, I'm just telling the truth and it feels like hell." Well, we're going to tell the truth. And the truth is that America needs universal health care. Mandated for every man, woman, and child. We got to get rid of cracks in our healthcare system. We should no such thing as pre-existing conditions. That ought to be banned as a matter of law. Mental health ought to be covered exactly the same as physical health. Preventive care, chronic care, long-term care, all should be covered. We should be able to take your health care with you wherever you go. If you change jobs or if you move, your health care should go with you. And I do take this personally. I do. I met a guy a few months ago named James Lowe, who was 51 years old. He had a cleft, born with a cleft palate. He couldn't talk because he had a cleft palate. Simple operation would have fixed it. But James didn't have any health care coverage, so he couldn't get it fixed. And finally, somebody fixed it for him when he was 50 years old. He lived for 50 years in this country, not able to speak because he had no health care coverage. America's so much better than this. I mean, I thought to myself when I heard this story, how long are we going to let drug companies and insurance companies run this country? I mean, when are we going to actually take our democracy back? Some of you I know saw the story of this little 17-year-old girl named Natalie Sarkeesian, whose family was actually campaigning with me a week or so ago. But she's a 17-year-old girl, needed a liver transplant operation. Her dad had worked hard all his life, paid his insurance premiums, and they had insurance coverage.